Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to take a wood round blank from Hobby Lobby. We are staining it and creating this beautiful wall sign. So this is the new logo. My church just changed names, so we are making a logo for one of the walls in the building. So we are using a Hobby Lobby circle, Danish oil to stain, and then this is white acrylic from Cerulean Tides. So I'm going to show you how I set up this file to cut in multiple pieces to piece together, and how we use 3M and how we assembled this whole thing. So if you're watching this video and you're ready to get a Glowforge and work along with me, you can check out the link in the description to save $500 on a new machine. And don't forget, I do have a code to save from Cerulean Tides. You can find it in the description below. So I'll go ahead and show you how I set this up. Okay, so I have the logo that I am working with. I'm going to stretch it out so we can see it. So you can see it has a lot of fine detail. The good thing is when we make it larger, it will be easier to work with. So before I do any more changing, I'm going to kind of set up the distance between my logo to the edge of my board that I'm putting this on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work off of an offset first and then set my dimensions so I can make sure I have the actual ratio correct. So we're going to go over to our offset panel, choose offset, and you can see one will be made. So it'll start off pretty small because that's kind of what I had before. So you're going to see it's going to make an offset off of all the little lines inside. Don't worry about that. We're going to kind of adjust that after the fact. What we're looking at is the distance from the inside, well, from the outside line, and then the logo from the inside. So we want a little bit of this distance. So we'll hit apply. It's going to have a lot of lines in here. No big deal. We're going to click on this, and we want to separate all of the lines from the main design. So we're going to right click and release compound path. So this makes every line its own unique object, not grouped together into one. Hold down shift, click on this outside one. That will deselect my outside one and leave all the inside ones selected, so I can very easily with one click delete it. Okay, so now we have our circle. I'm going to grab both of these right here, and I'm going to use the align tool at the top center, and I just centered it on there. Now there's a bunch of ways that you can do that. I like making offsets because it'll be the right ratio around your entire object every time. Since this is a circle, you could have easily drawn a circle, but I like to be in the practice of doing an offset no matter what. So now I'm going to right click and group everything together. Now this outside line is not a line we're actually cutting. This is just representative of the edge of my board. So now I need to have this grouped together and resize it. And so I'm going to set the distance of what I'm going to size this as, and that will represent my board. So my board is 19.5 inches wide, so we'll do 19.5, hit the tab, and then enter. So now this is how big my board is, and so this inside part will be how big my design is. So I'm going to right click, ungroup, get rid of this outside one, and so here's my design. So my design is about 18 inches wide. So this will pose a little bit of a problem because this is going to be too big for a single sheet of acrylic, standard size acrylic, because our cut area can be up to 20 inches wide, but it's limited to about 11.5. So you have two options here. You can do a larger piece and do a pass-through cut, or in this case, what I'm going to do is I am actually going to use two pieces of white acrylic, and we're going to piece them together on the board. The board is going to be up high, so we don't have to worry about seams showing, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you what I do for this. Also, side note, at the time of filming this, I'm 7 months pregnant, so I get out of breath easily, so I'm so sorry if it sounds like I'm like not breathing well. It's just a baby. We're okay. So we need to cut this in half. So there's a couple different ways that you can do this. I like to use my knife tool. So I'm going to use my knife tool. Before clicking and dragging, I'm going to choose this up here for auto apply, and I'm going to bring it across the middle, and I'm going to hold down shift to keep it in a straight line. Okay, so now without it being auto applied, I can select both my shape and my knife line, and we're going to go over here, go to this transform panel, and we're going to hit vertical, align the middle. So this just brought my knife line cut to the middle over here. One thing I want to point out is that this is going to go straight through this middle line right here. And that might be a little bit difficult to line up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag it down a little bit more. And I'm going to have it go through the middle of this cross because it kind of has this opening and we don't have to worry about lining up these little pieces here, okay? So we have this thread right here. Now, you do have a tiny bit of like loss with the laser. So I'm just going to do a straight line across. I think the cut will be fine. But if you do want to kind of, I don't know, be a little more cautious of that, what you can do is you can do a slight line below it and a slight line above it and kind of cut it so that there's an overlap. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and hit apply. And so now I have two pieces ready to go. Now you can see that middle part didn't come with me. That's because it was broken apart. So I'm going to use my mouse, drag it up, hit Control G, group it, and then again, we'll do it with this right here, Control G, group it. Okay, so we have two pieces here. Let's zoom out. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to just change the line color on them so they're different line colors, so they'll come in as different steps. And now we're ready to start setting this up in our Glowforge software. So you're going to grab both of these right here. You want to make sure you have Silhouette Studio Business Edition to export. I have a link in my description if you don't have it. It's just a one-time upgrade. Go to Save Selection, Save to Hard Drive, and then you're going to choose SVG from your section here. Then name it whatever you want, and I'll see you in just a second in Glowforge. Alright, so I have my acrylic here. I am using 1/8 inch translucent white. This is from Cerulean Tides. I love her acrylic. I do have a code. I think it recently changed, so check my description for a code. Normally it's 10% off your order. But Cerulean Tides has really, really great acrylic. It came masked, which does great for cutting. I am actually going to use my tool and very gently take the masking off my entire sheet because I am going to cover this entire sheet with 3M adhesive. So we're going to use pretty much 2 full sheets here, and then whatever extra we'll use for scrap or just additional detail on other projects. I always keep white acrylic on hand, and white acrylic does, like, it's a really common color to be used. So especially with baby signs coming up for us, I'm not really worried about covering this entire sheet with 3M because it will be used. Just peeling this off. And here is my adhesive. I have 3M 467. This is a little bit better for curved surfaces. They have, I believe 468 is more, a little bit stronger. So once I'm done with this roll, I'm going to switch to 468. But it's still a great adhesive. You can get this from Amazon, but you can also get it from Cerulean Tides as well. So when you find the link in the description, you can use it to get 3M as well. So I just rolled it over without the sticky side up to kind of figure out how long this needs to be. And now I'm just going to kind of gently bring this down. And then once I get to the end, use my scissors and just cut. Now, if you don't use 3M often and you only want it for certain projects, you can certainly order it in just sheets. Don't quote me, but I believe Cerulean Tides also offers some acrylic already coated with 3M. I could be wrong on that, okay? So I'm just using my little Caesar scraper, scraping this on there. So this is our first cut. I'm just going to kind of really mark this to make sure I know the edges, and we'll pop this in our machine. So we'll kind of bring this against the side, make sure we're all good. The 3M is kind of getting in the way and pushing part of my acrylic up, so I just want to make sure we're good there. Alright, so we're all set. So I'm going to set this up in Glowforge. I'm also going to coat the other one. I'm not going to do another video on it because it's the same thing. and then I'll show you how I break apart these cuts for 1 and 2. All right, so I'm in Glowforge. We're going to create a new design, upload file, and then you can choose where you get your file from, and I'll see you in a second. All right, so it's uploading. You can see on the bottom right, it says processing. So you can see here are my 2 pieces. So before I do anything else, I'm going to kind of take my sections. So here's my top section right here. I'm going to drag to make sure I have everything in there. Right click, group. And I'm doing this so that everything moves together if I need to move it around or anything. Let me zoom out a little bit. And then let's group this bottom one. Right click, group. I just want to keep it safe. Okay, so before I do anything else, let me zoom back in. Use my hand to get right here. I'm going to hit these 3 dots up here, set focus. I'm going to set it. I'm going to click on my material. Glowforge has a fisheye lens, and so you have to set focus so you can kind of figure out how far away your material is. It affects your cut settings. So we're going to go over here, cut. And so these are all presets that I've done. So you can see I've named them just stupid things, but I'm going to do 3M cut right here. And I'm actually going to take this, right click, actually not right click. I'm going to take this, go over, I just like forgot what I was doing. I'm so sorry. I'm going to click on this and then flip it. I'm just going to mirror it. It doesn't make too much of a difference, but I'm technically cutting this backwards, so I'm going to mirror my image. And if you don't have Glowforge Premium, no big deal. You don't like need it if you don't use these features a lot. You would just mirror this in your software before sending it over. So you can see my settings right here, 3M cut. I'm doing my speed at 120, I'm doing full power, and I'm doing 1 pass. And so I'm doing this with my material in reverse because I want my laser to go through my 3M first. It technically doesn't matter, but for me it makes me feel better to make sure that it's actually cutting through. So I always flip my 3M up and then cut backwards. So we're going to go over print. You can see that my outline is this coral color. You want to drag it into your safe space. And then this will tell me how long this will take to cut. So it'll be about 20 minutes. So I'll do that, and I will see you soon. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut the second one. So I'll see you when we assemble. Alright, so these are cutting, and there's one more thing that I forgot to do that I wanted to do. So I'm going to go back a little bit. So I'm going to either hit Control-Z, or if you have Business Edition, we can go to our multiple undo. And then we are going to go through and see all these edits that we did. I am going to go back to this move group. Alright, and let's do this edit. Okay, cool. So that was my edit that I cut. So one thing that I forgot to do is I forgot to create a guide for these inside pieces. So you're going to take this. Oh, it's still cut. So we're going to go back a little bit more. So let's hit Control-Z. Alright, so that's the line that we would have cut it with. Okay, so now that's one shape. I was almost there. So we're going to take this, I'm going to hover over this, see how my hand is a little pointer finger, press down the Alt button, click and drag to make a copy. So we're going to save that. So now we're going to take this, and I'm going to go through, right click, actually let's turn off the fill because this gets a little messy. So let's turn on our line color, and then right here we're going to turn off the fill by this little cross hatch pattern, and I'm going to right click, release compound path. So if it doesn't release like this is going, we're going to make it a compound path, then right click and release it. I don't know, sometimes you have these weird things that happen. So what we're going to do is we want to keep this inside line, but we want to get rid of this extra. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click and drag to get those, but I hold down shift and click on that circle to keep it. Same thing right here. Now you can click them individually if you feel safer doing that. Basically, we are getting rid of this outside and we're keeping this inside. So what we need to do is I need to cut some cardboard to get the correct placement for these pieces that just float inside. So the other thing is with these pieces, these inside lines we don't need to keep because those are the inside lines to the shape that we're doing, with one exception. So we do need to keep the alignment for this little cross on the inside. So what we'll do is we're going to take this and we are going to delete this inside line, and then we're going to take this little inside piece and delete it. So it's going to cut this circle, it's going to cut this, so we'll just pop it right back in there, and then our little cross will go inside of here. So we can take all of this here, group it. You can see this is just shy of 12 inches, so I'm going to get a big piece of cardboard, and then we're going to save selection and cut this again. So I'll show you this, and then I'll see you in Glowforge again to set up the cut settings for this. Okay everyone, so I have my cardboard loaded, and you can see I'm in the same document. So I'm going to set focus by clicking on this cardboard, and while this is going, I can hit this plus sign here to import artwork. And then I'm just going to go ahead and get the second part of this file in there. So we're going to go over here. So there is our next one. We're going to do cut. And this is a setting that I've programmed in for cardboard. I do my speed at 180 and 90 power. So let's zoom back in. And we'll bring this in. You can see this is actually a little bit big for my space. It looks like it kind of imported a little large. Okay, so it's 11 inches high. So what we're going to do for this is it's a little bit too big, so we're going to actually take this and we're going to set this as a pass-through cut. We're like literally right on the edge of it being too small. So you can see it goes over there. So I'm actually going to take this out, turn my board the other way, and then we'll do it as a pass-through. Okay, so you can see that my design is just a little bit too tall. So I went through and I turned my board so that it can be used for pass-through. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my focus by clicking on my material. I'm going to kind of adjust based off of what I see now, but we're probably going to see a little bit of an adjustment once we have that. So you can see it's still focusing. Alright, so now we're going to take this, bring it right in here. So you'll see we'll just have a little bit for this next cut. So we're going to go over, hit print. And I'm not going to show every step of this pass-through cut. However, I do have several videos where I do pass through, so I'll link them in the description for you below as well. So we're going to go ahead and do both of these cuts, and I'll see you in just a minute for the assembling. Alright, so here's my board. This is from the wood pile line at Hobby Lobby. I love this board because it has the little hole up top already for the nail. Don't worry about the standing on back. No one's going to see it. But if that does matter to you, you definitely should stain it. So I'm going to put it this way so I can see it a little bit easier. So here is the top. So here are my two pieces to start the assembly. So it looks brown because it has the masking on it. Don't worry too much about it. So we're just going to kind of use this to figure out our general placement. We want to make sure we have this centered on our little circle. And then I'm also, while I'm here, going to pop in our inside jig just so that we can have this alignment and it'll be ready for when we like take it apart and put it back together, you know. So here is our little circle. So we're going to, I'm just kind of checking it. And the camera is kind of looking down at an angle, so don't worry too much that it might look a little off to you. It is okay. Okay, so we're gonna, oh, it just moved anyway. So we're gonna go over here. I'm going to take the 3M off of here. So this peels right up. All right, so I'm gonna be very gentle with my placement because I don't want it to stick down yet. I just want to kind of find my spot. So I'm gonna kind of find the circle. Kind of bring it up right there. And I put it on top of my cardboard. All right, there we go. Okay. So there is our first piece. So now we can take our second piece and plop it right on there. So I'm just going to peel this 3M backing off. And if you choose, you can take the masking off before applying it like this. I like to keep it on until the last possible minute just to make sure it stays nice and safe, but that is all a preference. Okay, so here's our second piece. We're going to find our alignment here, find our alignment here. And this piece itself is, you know, it's thin, so it can kind of shift. So I'm just adjusting each one individually to make sure they line up. And I'm going to kind of smush it down to make sure it stays. Okay, so here is our base. Let me hold it at a different angle for you. All right, so now we're going to put our jig in here to work on our alignment. And I'm going to just double check to make sure this is the top. So we're going to shift this just a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm looking down and looking straight down to get this, what is that, nail hole. I am so sorry, guys. Like, I am so forgetful during pregnancy. Like, I lose my train of thought. I lose my words all the time. But my mind knows what it's doing. I just can't explain it sometimes, which I guess is kind of funny for a YouTube channel, but, you know, whatever. All right, so we're going to place this right in here. Here's the bottom part to it. This one is like not behaving. There we go. And we're just going to kind of smush these to make sure they're in the right spot. All right, so now we have our triangles, little side pieces. These are the sides to the crown. Oh, I just peeled the masking off instead of the 3M on this one. So here's the white part. Right, and so now we have our cross, and I realize I took out the wrong line, but I can still place my cross right in here. So we're just gonna go ahead and do that. So this just means I'll have to kind of place it in here, and then there you go, adjust as it gets in, but it's looking good. And once I take out this jig, if we have like some slight misalignment with the two pieces, the 3M just went on, so we do have like just a little bit of time that we can kind of manipulate it if we need to. Okay, let's take this out. I'm just going to push those together, smush it on, and now we're good to take our jig out. Cool. So I'm just gonna get my little tool to take off the masking. I'll be right back. All right, so I just have my little weeding tool. We are going to start from whatever spot. Be very gentle when you start peeling off this masking. You don't want to scratch the acrylic. So I'm trying to go as perpendicular to the acrylic as I can, just to get enough grip to pull it up. Okay everyone, so here is our final sign. Now this is basically a 20-inch sign. I think it's 19.5. And so I put Danish oil on it. So you can see I didn't stain the back. I did Danish oil and dark walnut, and then 2 pieces of white acrylic from Cerulean Tides. So this is something that you can do a couple different ways. I use pass-through to create my jig in here, but you could also get a bigger piece of wood up to 20 inches wide and do pass-through to do the whole piece in here. You could also get a pass-through size of acrylic. Now I always keep standard acrylic on hand, so I went ahead and pieced it together. You can see probably from the camera, you can't see the seams. So you want to be careful with the seams. You put them in a place that looks, works easily, but I think it looks really nice. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're watching and you're ready to get a Glowforge of your own, you can check out the link in the description to save up to $500 on a new machine. And then I also should have a code to save some money with cerulean tides to order your acrylic. So you can check all of that below, and please don't forget to subscribe.